Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to our Steelers Week 8 preview. I'm your host, Jim Sella, here with Johnny Parlay. Bit of a restructuring going on the spread. J-Dash taking a step back from the mic, moving into the producer role. Parlay stepping forward on the mic. No more holdouts, Parlay. You got to keep it going.
I don't know. Parlay's here, but he would like to request a trade. You know, I'm better than Jim. I'm better than J-Dash. I want more shows. I want more mic time. And then I stole your bike too, Jim.
I knew somebody took it. I was looking for it this morning to try to get the mail, but I couldn't find it.
I want to trade. Me and my boo went out.
Smoking mad blunts on Instagram. You see that?
Just losing it.
Why, if you're the girlfriend of an NFL player who was suspended for smoking pot, would you post pictures of yourself smoking pot in your home when you live with said NFL player?
It's just mind-boggling. I don't get it. The guy is nuts. I think that's the only excuse at this point that I'm willing to accept is that he's got a mental health issue, honestly. And if that's the case, fine. But other than that, I don't know why he's just sabotaging his career.
I like how he said he needs to get out so he can make more money to feed his family. How about you don't get suspended for over an entire season and you would have had almost $1 million more?
Yeah, I don't know what they're eating for dinner over there, but, I mean, if they're eating like Parlay, those Hungry Man TV dinners aren't that expensive. He should be doing just fine with that. I don't know how many kids he has, but come on, man.
If I'm the Steelers, I gotta sit this guy this week versus Detroit. I mean, you gotta do something. You cannot just let him come out and make the team look like a fool 2 weeks in a row, especially after the first week. Everybody in the organization came out and backed this guy up and said all the right things and, you know, really stood up for him. And then the very next week, they come out, get a big win, take a stranglehold on the division, and then he comes out and still complains.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. It's you either want to play or you don't, and clearly he doesn't. So you gotta. The only problem with sitting him this week or suspending him for a week or whatever they want to do, whatever they want to call it, is you got Juju in the protocol.
Yeah, that's another thing. Why would you come out and say that stuff when you knew Juju was going to be in the protocol and you know you're going to get more playing time this week regardless?
Just sabotage, self-sabotage. I honestly think the guy might have a mental health issue that's not being addressed. I think that maybe the weed was therapeutic more so than just a fun thing to do. It might have honestly eased his mind and put his head in the right space because ever since he's been off, he's acting like quite the diva.
Yeah, this guy has no idea what he's doing. I'm not going to say he's not working hard because I hear all these reports that he does work hard in practice and whatever, but he's not producing on the field. You're not going to get the ball thrown your way if you're not producing. It's really pretty much as simple as that. And for him to come out and throw Juju under the bus like that, what did that poor kid ever do? He's 20 years old and he rides a bike to work. Why you got to throw him under the bus?
He's like a Pittsburgh's favorite, you know, new Steeler rookie. Like, they love him. They're taking to him. He seems like a fun dude. He's all good spirits, good times.
Plays hide and seek?
Yeah, I just don't get it, Martavis. I mean, I say trade him, honestly. Just you can get something for him, maybe. So do that.
Yeah, the Steelers have come out and said they're not going to trade him. They're not going to release him. They're just going to kind of stand pat and stand beside him. Big Ben said he sent him some text messages and wants to get a chance to talk to him, that he still stands by him. All these guys keep saying all the right things. If Martavis continues to screw this up, when is the line? When do the players just say, we're done with you, dude?
I would have said it's already past. They're already on that line. They're over it. It's gone. I think if they're not going to do it at this point, then they're not going to do it. They're just going to hang on to him and let him steer the ship, which is bull. You know, you can't put him in a position where he thinks he can do or say whatever he wants. He thinks he's above the team, and by not taking an action, they're proving him right. Trade him. Larry Fitz. Now.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what the Cardinals want to do.
Hey, they're rebuilding. Why not?
Yeah, Carson Palmer, broken arm. That's brutal.
Rebuilding. I like that trade. Do it now.
Bank on it. Well, it's week 8 parlay. The Steelers are 5-2. Yeah, they lost 2 games they shouldn't have, but what's it really matter at this point? The record's 5-2. That's what matters. They're the number 1 seed, or at least tied for the number 1 seed, however you want to look at it, in the AFC. So they basically control their own destiny as far as seeding goes in the playoffs. If they can continue to win the games they're supposed to and not lose the games that should be very easy, the Steeler team could really try to make some noise here in the playoffs.
Well, what if they do the opposite, which they've been doing thus far? They've been losing the games they should win and winning the games they should lose. So, depending on the rest of their schedule, hopefully it's a lot of tough teams, and they'll come out on top.
Yeah, it's rough. You really got to think they're going to still have to win that New England game in the regular season to be able to get the number 1 seed. I know New England's defense doesn't look quite as good as it has, but let's be honest, they're not going to continue to struggle all season. Bill Belichick will right that ship, or he'll cheat to figure it out. Whatever he's going to do over there, they're not going to play that bad all year long. So the Steelers just, if they continue to lose games they should win, they're screwed, quite honestly. But if they can keep it together and play like they did last week in versus Cincinnati, then they're really going to make some noise, because Le'Veon Bell was running wild, brother.
Yeah, they certainly looked good last week. But, that was against a team that should have been a tough game. So, I'm looking at their schedule. They got Lions, Colts, Titans. The Colts they should blow out, so that'll be close, I'm sure. Titans aren't playing too bad, so that could go either way. And then they got the Packers. They'll blow them out. And then they got the Lions this week, which, on paper, it seems like it'd be a pretty close matchup. Lions started off decent. They slowed down a little bit, and they're at home. So, I've been saying, I've been off all year on my predictions just because I'm looking at it on paper, and on paper, this looks like a close game. So, I think it'll probably be a blowout one way or the other. But I don't know which way. Parlay got no idea this year. It's a funky year.
What's Parlay's opinion on Matt Stafford? This is a guy who, he gets big money. People say he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's good, and he's played well at times, and he's playing well this year, and he's a tough kid. He's come out and played through some injuries, but I don't know. He's never really seemed to be that guy who can get your team over the hump.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've always liked him. He's definitely got talent. He hasn't necessarily been surrounded by any superstars. He had Megatron, but I don't know where that guy, he wanted to get a new job, I guess. He's still young. I don't know what his second job was, but he decided no more millions. I'll just go work at the car lot.
He's probably on a sailboat with John Jaso.
Yeah, well, that's true. They might be tight. They probably have some of the same interests. So, I think Stafford, if he had like one superstar receiver, I think he would have a chance at the big one, And they started off this year pretty good, and they still look decent. So this is probably a big defining game for them. I'm sure they're going to be real ready to play on Sunday night.
You got Amir Abdullah in the backfield, and Golden Tate is their leading receiver. Abdullah's a guy that's kind of like an enigma, really. People expect this guy to come out and blow up every year, and then he doesn't really seem to do it, although he does still play well, so he's not garbage. He's just not as good as his potential is. And then Golden Tate is somebody that has played well, and I hate saying this, but if he's your lead receiver, you're beat. Quite honestly, Golden Tate's never done anything in his career that made me say this guy should be a number 1. I know stats doesn't always make you the number 1, whatever. You can have 1 or 2 big games, whatnot. But like you said, Megatron was there for a while. Now this receiving core from Matt Stafford is pretty much an actual receiving core and not just chucking the ball up in the air to Megatron every time. And Stafford's thrived, 12 touchdowns this year, somewhere around 4 interceptions. But the Lions' offense just doesn't scare me like it did a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm a big Golden Tate fan. He reminds me of Hines Ward. I always pick him up in fantasy because he gets a lot of catches if you're in a PPR league. I like him. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's doesn't make mistakes. He's pretty versatile. He can do the end arounds. He can return punts. He can do a lot of things, but you're right. He's not an elite number 1 receiver, and they definitely have never had a good back in Stafford's tenure. So they're just missing a couple pieces. They're going to put together a good record, and they're going to look like a decent team from time to time, but they just Bump up that payroll a little bit. Pay them Lions.
Now, the Lions' defense the last few years has played pretty well. This year, they're struggling a little bit. They're giving up a lot of points per game, a lot of yards. They're 22nd against the pass, but they are 8th against the run. The Steelers have pretty much won these last few games on the running game, or won all their games they've won this year on defense in the running game. Do you think Le'Veon Bell can keep it going and get over a hundo again this week?
Well, I'd have to get Jay Dash, our producer, into the muck and find out the stats of Le'Veon on turf, because I think that's a big factor. You would think that that would be better for him. So if that's the case, yeah, he should keep it up, I would think. It's a good place to play if you're a pretty quick guy. Golden Tate, an example, he's a quick guy, and he seems to do just fine up there. So I think Le'Veon will follow up last week with another decent week.
Now, I don't remember the exact numbers, Parlay, but they gave the ball to Le'Veon somewhere around 30 times again, maybe even over 30 times. Dash and I were talking about it earlier in the year. You can wear this guy out. It kind of seems like what happened in the AFC Championship game last year against the Patriots. Do you keep feeding him the rock 30 times a game, or do you give it to him like 22 to 25 and try to start mixing James Conner in there a little bit late in the game when you're up by a few touchdowns?
Well, if Parlay were a coach, which he is not, I would definitely slow him down in his touches. I like James Conner. He's got potential, and he has yet to show signs of rookie mistakes, I think. So why not give the guy, split him, get him once every 3 drives, put him in there for a couple snaps, He seems to be faring just fine.
I mean, I would even be okay with them just doing it later in the game if they're up a little bit and they're starting to run the clock out. Connor, he didn't really have a lot of fumbles in college, and he's a big, strong guy who just runs straight ahead. I don't know why they're using Watson on short yardage plays. You're taking your best back off the field in Le'Veon Bell, and B, James Conner's just as good as a straight-ahead runner as Watson and a much better pedigree. So I don't really know why he's getting the ball, and Conner hasn't gotten it as much as I would hope this year. I'm a little worried about wearing Le'Veon out, especially late in the season. I'm not saying don't give this guy the ball. If you need to give him the ball, if you're behind, you feed this guy the rock. Believe me, you don't worry about what's going to happen 5 weeks from now if you need to win now. But if you're up in a game, you got to start mixing in James Conner just a little bit. Just a little bit. Those few little carries off of Le'Veon's plate will help so much come playoff time.
No doubt. And I don't know if it's Tomlin or Haley who's making this decision, but I don't like it. So it's probably Haley's decision.
Parlay, are you buying this Steeler defense yet? I was a little cautious all year, especially the pass defense. People said that they were ranked number 1, and the statistics were a little skewed because of the Bears game and the Jaguars game. But the Steelers stopped the Kansas City offense, and then they also stopped Andy Dalton in that Cincinnati offense. I know the Bengals weren't lighting it up, but in the 2 games or 3 games after they fired their offensive coordinator, they were playing a lot better. Steelers pretty much stomped them into the ground, especially in the second half of the game last week. They're 3rd overall in points on defense, 2nd overall in yards, 1st against the pass, and 15th against the run. And you got to figure those run numbers would be more like 5th had they not got gashed in those 2 games. They're young, they're fast, and they're hungry. Is this a Super Bowl caliber defense?
Well, Parlay, he's never one to give too much credit to the Steelers. But they have looked a little bit better every week, and seems like they're game planning a little more accurately for what they're seeing coming at them. And yeah, they are young, and I think that's probably their main issue. Is they just need to stay disciplined and not make mistakes that young guys would make. So I'm not ready to believe it yet, especially once they start, in December. They're going to see Brady, and he's going to pick them up hard. There's no doubt. A lot of these guys will be seeing Brady for the first time, and they're going to go right out and buy a Brady jersey because they're going to be like, wow, that dude is good.
Any self-respecting Steeler fan wears a Brady jersey, they should be shot.
Well, Parlay's the one who took that jersey from the Super Bowl.
Get money.
Make bank on that. Bank.
Believe. All right, Parlay, I'm going to throw some over-unders at you. You give me your answer.
Bring it.
Pittsburgh Steelers are averaging 113 rushing yards per game on offense. As a team, will they go over under 120 yards?
I like just under 120. I think it's going to be a slowed down game.
Will Big Ben continue his success passing? The Steelers threw for a lot more yards last week than maybe not a lot more, but more efficiently and some more yards than they had last week, and they didn't have 5 interceptions. So Big Ben on the road against Matt Stafford, over under 240 yards passing.
I'm going to say just under 240. I think he's going to be thrown it a lot. I'm thinking somewhere around the 40s, the mid-40s in attempts. And I think he's going to complete a lot of them, but I think he's going to throw 2 picks and 2 touchdowns and under 240 yards.
My next question was over under touchdowns 1.5, so I guess you just answered that with 2.
Yeah, I'm going over. I think he's going to be trying. Him and Stafford, they're going to have a little sling fest, I think. I think it's going to be more passing than running on Sunday night.
Martavis Bryant, over under 4 catches.
4 catches? 4 plays, bro. Under. 4 tweaks during the game. Over.
Over under 40 yards for Martavis.
Oh man, under. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't suit up. It's not too late to make that call. There's a lot of days left in between that game, Mr. Sella.
He could definitely smoke a lot of reefer between now and then.
I'm keeping a real keen eye on his Twitter feed.
Steelers defense really got to the quarterback well last week. Been doing it well all season long. Over under 2 sacks for the Steelers defense against Detroit.
I like over on that just because Stafford, while he can, if he gets out of the pocket, he can run. But it is trouble. He is not very elusive in that pocket. And if it starts to collapse, he is sort of Brady-esque in that he sort of crumbles.
The Steeler defense had 2 interceptions last week. Will they continue this trend this week? Over under 2.5 turnovers. Doesn't have to be just an interception. 2.5 turnovers for the Steeler defense.
That's a tricky one because Stafford is not adverse to throwing picks or getting sacked on the blind side. So that's sort of a random one that could go either way. I think he'll protect the ball pretty well with a decent line in front of him. So I'm going to say under, but he may have a pick. Or turnover-wise, I think maybe 2, but not over 2 for the Lions.
The Lions offense is only averaging 214 passing yards per game. The Steelers defense is only giving up 147 passing yards per game. Over under 200 total yards passing for the Lions.
I'm going to go over on that one. Not by many, but I do like over. Like I said, I think it's going to be a sling fest.
All right, Parlay. We're going to move into the keys to victory. What are yours for the Steelers this week against the Lions?
Oh, that D has to stay disciplined, man. D not for defense, for discipline. They can't be giving up one-on-ones on the outside. They got to stay in their lanes. And Detroit doesn't have the greatest running game. They're sort of running back by committee. So if they can shut that down while at the same time keeping coverage on the ends, I think that's going to be important. I think the Steelers' D is going to be the key to the game. Win or lose, if they play terrible, they're going to lose. But if the D shows up, I think they're going to win.
You know, it's odd, but I think the Steelers just really need to not let this Martavis Bryant thing become a distraction throughout the week. I mean, it's already early in the week. The only thing anybody's talking about, I haven't heard anybody mention the game or any of the other players or what's going to happen. It's just all about Martavis, what he's doing to this Steeler team, how he's being selfish, and most of those people were right. But the last time the Steelers bought into a bunch of controversy in the week leading up to a game, they came out and just got dominated. So this Detroit team's way too good to do that against. They can't overlook them. The Steeler offense already struggles on the road by itself, even when they're playing well. Big Ben struggles on the road sometimes.
Yeah, and you got Detroit coming off a bye, so they're hearing all this controversy going on here in Pittsburgh, but they don't got any on there, and they had a bye week. They just came off vacation. They ain't worried about any of that. They haven't even seen each other for a week.
Believe. So this team, my real key to victory is stay focused. Stay focused on what you're supposed to be paying attention to. Maybe it's better that they are an away game. Get to Detroit earlier. Get them out of the city. Get them away from this Pittsburgh media and everything that's going on. All the media members, all they're asking the players about is, what do you think about what Martavis said? Not, what do you think about the game this week? So I honestly feel like it might actually work to their advantage being on the road, even though, as I mentioned a minute ago, they do struggle sometimes.
Well, that's right. We said the same thing about the KC game. I think we're having almost the same conversation where we said get them out of Pittsburgh, get them on the road in hotel rooms where they can just get away from, the super genius and the B team and just focus on the game. I think you're right.
So what is it, Parlay? What's the official Parlay prediction this week?
Well, Parlay's for the people. You know that. He always has been. He always will be. And anytime Parlay predicts the Steelers win, they usually lay an egg. So this one's for Steeler Nation, and I'm going to predict that they lose. So they may show up on the road. But I think, Detroit at home, Detroit's the dog, and Parlay loves a home dog.
You do.
And so not only do I think that Detroit will cover with their +3, I think they'll actually win the game. I'm going 34-27. Lions.
Ooh, big time scoring, huh? You think they're going to be able to put up 34 on that Steeler defense?
I think it's going to be a sling fest. And like I said, my key to their victory is the defense, and I don't think they're going to have that key. They're going to forget it. They're going to forget the garage door opener, the fingerprint pad, the key, everything.
Well, I'm not as bleak as you. I'm also not as certain as some other Steeler fans. I don't think this is an easy victory. I can't remember for sure. I think I may have actually predicted the Steelers to lose this game on the road when we did our preseason predictions. This is going to be real tough. Like you said, Detroit's coming off a bye week. They're rested. Stafford was able to rest up a little bit after getting banged up early on in the season. It's going to be a tricky game for Pittsburgh, especially if somehow Detroit starts running the football. So, although I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as you, I still do think Detroit wins this game. However, I think it's going to be more along the lines of something like 27-25. Teams trading some late scores, getting the game excited in the fourth quarter. But I just think the Steelers fall a little bit short. Maybe they even score a touchdown and go for 2 to try to tie the game and send it into overtime and don't get it.
That would be Tomlin. Well, you'd have to go for 2 if you're down by 2 to try to get to overtime. But Tomlin may go for 2 on the first touchdown. So.
Please believe.
Now, you also want to be and just in case they do get that 2-point conversion and head to overtime, as history will tell you, in Detroit, speak clearly during the coin toss.
Yes, because we don't want to have another upset like on Thanksgiving. Poor Jerome Bettis.
Right. I don't know what the bus was doing. He had a mush mouth.
He was eating all that Campbell's chunky soup his mom was trying to feed him. Burned the roof of his mouth. He couldn't talk right.
He still had leftovers in his mouth. There's one last thing here on this Tuesday, October 24th, while we're recording, is Game 1 of the World Series. Now, you predicted both the wild card games, where Harley got them both wrong. Now, do you even know who's in the World Series tonight, Jim?
Yankees and Astros, my man. Paul Wall is going to buy the entire Astros team grills for making it to the World Series.
Well, you almost got that right, but the Yankees and the Astros are in the same league. They are both American.
Oh, did I say the Yankees? I'm sorry, the Dodgers and the Astros.
You got it.
My bad.
Yes, Dodgers, Astros. You have a prediction?
Oh, man. LA's probably the better team. They're the younger team. Houston's a little bit older. Got some wily veterans, although Ground Chuck did grind it out for him in Game 7 of the ALCS. Never thought I would see that.
I still don't believe it.
I honestly didn't believe it. I was watching it and I didn't believe it. But I think the Dodgers are just a little too much, and I think they take the series in 5.
5.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, the advertisers won't be happy about that.
Nope.
But, you know, I think you're right. I think the Dodgers are just too good. I mean, their payroll is, I think, $260 million against
Billions and billions.
billions. And the
Billions.
Astros, $188 million. So, not that the Astros are schlubs. They've got some high banking players, and I would like to see the Astros win. So you know how that goes for parlay. It'll probably be four game sweep by the Dodgers, but I'm pulling for the Stros. But I think that the smart pick would have to be the Dodgers. They've been so close the last few years, so they got the experience, and I think this will be the year they take it.
Dodgers are going to win bigly.
Well, nothing like ending a Steelers preview with a World Series prediction.
Believe it. Fans, questions, comments about the Steeler game, or hey, even if you got some baseball comments, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. If you can find out Johnny Parlay's Twitter handle and send him a tweet, you win absolutely nothing, but we'll make fun of you. Keep coming back to Facebook.
You hit attention parlay on your tweet. And in the comments of this video, if you correctly guess the score of this game, Parlay will send you a t-shirt.
Please believe.
It might not be like a brand new t-shirt. It might be this Hanes V-neck I'm wearing, but it's a t-shirt nonetheless.
It'll smell like Parlay. Hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube. Keep clicking subscribe. Gaining mad subscribers. We're beast.